right, hello everybody. Thank you for coming. I know I'm opposite the keynote, so there was a little competition here, but I appreciate you coming. I knew this was going to be a little small group, so we're going to kind of be interactive today. We're going to do some movement, some, exercise. Not real exercise, but some stretching, For those of you who don't know me, my name is Beth Helsby. I'm the Wellness Program Coordinator here at the county, so I'm in the Benefits and Workforce Wellness Division under Human Resources. I do have a couple letters after my name, as Anthony said, but I have a bachelor's degree, concentration in exercise science, eons ago. I have been in the field, the wellness, physical exercise field for over 30 years. So I've been doing this a long time. I've seen it morph. I'm very excited that wellness is finally having its day. I think COVID did that. But that's okay, I'm just happy about that everyone is kind of coming to an understanding of, what wellness is all about and why it's important in your life. I've been preaching it for a number of years. I am a certified personal trainer as well as a group fitness instructor from my previous life. I don't do that as much here, but I do have those skills as well. I've been involved in diabetes education programs, childhood obesity programs, Get Fit America. I was in a national program with the YMCA to try to get sedentary people active. So I've been doing some disease management programs. Also, early on in the career, I did some cardiovascular rehab. So I've kind of hit the gamut of a little different, all different aspects of wellness. So today, we're just going to briefly go over a couple different sections of wellness. Hopefully you learn something or you take away something from it. Please, because we are such a small class, just raise your hand, ask questions. I've got a lot of information. I will email you all copies of the slides, so you don't have to take notes if you don't want to, but if you want to, that's really up to you, okay? All right, so we're gonna get started. So the sedentary person, the average person sits about 8 hours a day, some more than that. Has anyone ever heard the new phrase, sitting is the new smoking? That's a big term lately, and one of the reasons is because all of those chronic diseases that you have, you've gotten from smoking are now being attributed to inactivity and lack of movement. So sitting and being sedentary for long periods of time are now seeing the same results of cancer, heart problems, diabetes, things like that, that smoking could be attributed to. The CDC recommends, their recommendations come out, they're very general, but they do recommend 150 minutes of exercise per week. So let's just not even count the weekend. Let's look at Monday through Friday. That's 30 minutes a day over 5 days of the week. So you can spread it over 7 if you want, but I know a lot of people don't do things on the weekends, and sometimes they do much more on the weekends. Depends on, what your life is like outside of here. So moderate activity, maybe a brisk walk, a swim, a bike ride, a group exercise class, something that's going to get your heart rate up into your target heart rate zone. We're not going to do the calculation for everybody for that, but you should feel on a scale from 1 to 10, it's a perceived exertion scale. So if you don't have a mechanism to check your pulse or your heart rate, there's a perceived exertion scale, goes from 0 to 10. You should be in that 5 to 6 level. That means your heart rate is a little high. That's moderate intensity. If you're up at the 9 and 10, you probably can't breathe and you can't talk while you're exercising. That's just putting you at a very high intensity. For optimal fat burning and optimal cardiovascular gains, you want to be in that moderate, mid to moderate level. Okay. All right, so sedentary, when you're sedentary, what happens? Well, your stress is up because you're stuck in the same spot. You start to have back pain, musculoskeletal pain. A lot of different things are contributed to not being, able to move. So we're going to just go over a bunch of different things. When you do engage in regular activity, your stress is lower. Hopefully you don't have as many aches and pains in your body. Ultimately for an employer, this leads to, higher productivity out of the employees. A healthy employee is a productive and happy employee. So retention, all of those things. We weren't sure who was going to be in the class today, so this is more for the managers. Make sure your employees are happy and healthy. But if you can give yourself reminders to leave the workspace, and I'm not saying take a break all the time, but I'm saying get up to go to the copier, get up to go to the bathroom, get up to go to the break room, go get yourself a cup of coffee. Just to get up out of your seat and move. For anybody who has a smartwatch, that 10 minutes before every hour, you get that beep, beep, you've been sitting too long. There's some science behind that. That's why that's built in there. It's a health app. They want you to get up and get moving because it is beneficial for you. So how do we move more? So here's some ways. You might be doing some of these already, you might not. We talked about taking the regular breaks from sitting, getting up and finding ways that you can get up and move. Walk over to speak to a coworker. You've got someone in the same office and you're emailing them or you're giving them a call. Just get up and walk over. If they're on the phone or they're busy, it's okay. Walk back. Guess what? You just walked over there and walked back. You didn't get your job done, but that's okay. You moved. You got up and you got back. Same thing with the copier. There's people that will send 15 things to the copier and then an hour later go get all 15 things. I like to send one thing at a time, get up, go get it, bring it back, send it again, go up, get it back. You would be amazed at how many extra steps you get and how much you feel better just by getting up and moving throughout the day. If you have a multi-level, building, taking the steps instead of the elevator, of course. Standing or pacing while you're on the phone. I don't know how many of you have headsets or even just being able to stand up in your workplace and talk on the phone gets you stretched and moving. Staying hydrated, we're going to talk about that a little bit later in the slide presentation. Moving away from your desk, having a walking or standing meeting. If you've just got a couple people you need to talk to, instead of getting in a conference room and sitting down for 15 minutes, hey, why don't you walk with me? Let's just go take a walk down the hall, or let's go lap around the building, and let's meet and work at the same time. Very productive, get some fresh air, just some good tips all around. Okay, stretching. Now this is the active part of the class, okay? Everybody ready to stretch? Okay, first I'm gonna tell you why it's important, okay? First, it helps with muscle tightness and imbalance. You can see that prolonged sitting causes, like we talked about before, your back, your shoulders, your neck. Who's been sitting down and you just start rubbing your neck, right? Or your shoulders, or you're staring at a computer screen in a certain position for too long. And you start to get those twinges and just overall stiffness and achiness, right? Reduce circulation. So when you don't move, there are things that go on in your circulatory system. If the blood is not flowing through your system, you could be possibly having some blood clots. Deep vein thrombosis is deep veins, clots that are forming in there. And if you're not moving the blood flow through, you could also throw blood clots. So that's something we want to try to avoid. Fatigue and stress. All of your tension goes into your muscles, which also leads to some tightness. So a good stress reducer is also doing some stretching and relaxation techniques to help reduce all of that. And then posture issues, constant seating. You get tired after a while, so your shoulders start to slump. You start to curve your back a little bit. Maybe you cross and uncross your legs, which throws your hips out of alignment a little bit. You're using the mouse and you're doing the same exact thing over and over. So there's repetitive motion things. You're going to start feeling your shoulders and your neck. I just for an example, I moved offices recently. So I went from a desk that was like an L to like a big circle desk where I'm in the corner, right? So now my back is to all of my coworkers, where it wasn't before. Before I was right there by the door, I could see everybody going by, and you always, when you hear things, you kind of look up, right? So I'm in the corner, and I hear things behind me. Well, I got startled twice because I did not know they were behind me, because when I focus, I focus. But I'm sitting there, and every time I hear a noise, every time I hear a door open, a phone ring, someone talking, I turn around. And it wasn't like just turning like this, it was turning like this. So after 2 weeks of doing this to see who was behind me, I couldn't move my neck, I was so stiff. I was like, oh my gosh. And then it went down into my shoulders, into the back. And I was like, this is crazy. And I knew exactly what it was. And I knew I shouldn't be doing it, but just the nature of the situation was making me do it. So after that weekend, after doing some stretching, sitting in the hot tub a little bit, I said, I'm not going to make this, I'm going to make this go away. When I came in on Monday, I took my computers and I moved them to the side of that circle. So now when someone goes by, I can visually see them in my corner of my eye, or I can just slightly turn my head. And it doesn't, all of a sudden, no more neck pain, no more shoulder pain. So sometimes it's just a matter of how you're sitting, how you're positioning, the ergonomics of your desk in general. We have an ergonomic consultant with the county. If you have issues, height, of the chair, how far away you are, how far your computer monitor is, they will come in and assess your whole work situation and make recommendations for you to improve. And sometimes it's amazing what you think you know what's wrong and you don't, and someone from the outside will come in and look in and they know right away, oh, you're not at a 90-degree angle. Oh, you're too far from your computer screen. Oh, your phone is too far out of reach, so you're pulling on certain muscles when you do this repetitive motion. So that service is out there for you. I just want everybody to know that it's there, but you can assess your own situation. All right, so take regular breaks. And I'm not talking, a break like your 2 15-minute breaks. I'm talking, take a 5-minute, just like a stretch break. We're going to go over some easy things that you can do while you're just sitting at your desk to stretch. But if you're sitting for 30 minutes and not moving and you're in the same position, roll your shoulders. Just do something, and that will help release some tension in the muscles. There are 2 different types of stretching. Does anybody know what they are? It's right up on the screen. Static stretching and dynamic stretching. So static stretching is where you stretch, like for example, let's put the leg down and you hold it for 5 to 10 seconds. You relax and then you repeat the stretch. Dynamic stretching is where you're actually doing movement to prepare yourself for an activity. This is more related to a sport. So like if you're a weekend athlete, right, and you go out and you maybe play tennis or soccer or you swim or something like that, you're then going to do warm-up exercises that are going to kind of look like the activity that you're doing while you're playing tennis. So if you're going to be doing side by side across the court, you might want to be doing, some of these. This is more dynamic. And even though you're moving, it's still stretching those muscles that are going to be engaged and activated while you are doing that exercise. Okay. Does everybody understand the difference? Yeah. Okay. Create a routine. If you say, I'm going to do these 5 stretches, every hour, every half hour, whatever, your body gets used to those stretches. And then it's easier to form a habit because like at this time of day, every day I do this. 6 to 8 weeks to form a habit. If you start doing something now and say, all right, 3 days a week I'm going to do it, or maybe I'm going to start with once a week. You never want to give yourself too big of goals because then you might not be able to achieve them. So you always want to do something that you can achieve. That's part of the SMART goal system, is being specific and having it measurable, being attainable. If you do that habit, it will form and then you will continue to do that. You'll also be able to stretch a little bit more each time. So maybe you're really tight and really stiff and you're like, I really can't stretch. Like I have very tight hamstrings. I've had them my entire life. Even though I've been an athlete, doesn't matter. I always like, oh, touch your toes. Yeah, not happening, okay? Because I don't practice touching my toes. But if you stretch on a regular basis and that's one of your exercises that you do, eventually, over the course of weeks and months, you will be able to touch your toes as well as go farther and past your toes. And I've seen it happen from the beginning of a sports season to the end of a sports season, but you can do that. You can get there with any stretch. So a lot of people are a little nervous about starting a yoga practice because they look and they're like, there's no way I'm going to be able to do those stretches. You can get there. You might not get all the way to where you're bending yourself in half, but you will at least be able to get there to where you can balance and stretch. Adapt according to your need. Everybody is different, so I always tell everybody, go at your own pace. Don't look at the person next to you. If you're taking a class or something like that, don't look at the person next to you. Don't judge yourself next to what they're doing. They could have been doing this their entire life and you just started. Don't be intimidated by what they're doing. Start at the back of the class, not the front of the class. That's a good tip for anybody new to exercise. Observe what's going on, but just work at your own pace. Anything that you achieve is a positive. You know, you want to be going at your own speed. And then mind your posture. Anytime you take a break, just think about shoulders over the hips, you know, over the heels, just making sure that you're aligned with posture, because it's so easy to get into those bad habits, to sit improperly in a chair, to slump forward, and you really just kind of like throw those shoulders back and get your posture right. Okay. All right, now for the good part, the fun part. So we're gonna go over some exercises. Yeah, see you moving your chair around. Get yourself some room, all right? Some things we're gonna stand up for, some things we're gonna sit down for. The first is gonna be a glute or a lower back stretch. So, very easy, very simple. Just sit, okay? Hands forward, and just slowly go down to the floor. Go as far as you can, and just drop the head down. But you're completely staying in your seat. Yep, as far as you can go. It's okay if you can't go any farther. You can only go halfway down. That's it. Pull yourself back up. How long are we holding stretches for? 5 to 10 seconds, yes. All right, go ahead, do it again. See if you can go a little farther this time. Let gravity help you pull yourself down. All right, and relax. Now, I'm not counting, but in your head, it's easy to do that 1 Mississippi, 2 Mississippi. You know, that's kind of how I just, you know, do it. When you start out, maybe 5 seconds is all you need. As you progress, you can go up to 10. All right, next one. Oh, now, I do have to point out, though, all of these pictures have little wheelie chairs on them. Don't do these on wheelie chairs. that was a big safety no-no. I just couldn't find a picture that didn't have no wheels on them. The next is a back stretch. So I'm just going to turn to the side. So basically, you're going to just pull your shoulders back. You feel that stretch. You feel it through the upper chest area, also through your back, and then pull your arms forward. You feel the shoulders and the neck a little bit, and then pull back. You can do this while reading something on your computer, right? Very easy to do. Okay. Oh, yeah, it's like a row, right? It's like a rowing exercise, yep. Okay, the next one is going to be a leg exercise. So this is going to loosen up your legs. You can just put your hands right in front of your knee, of your lower knee, and just lift up as high as you can, and just hold. You feel that in your hips, in your quads, hamstrings, all right there. All right, and then you would switch legs. And you always want to repeat. When you do it, you always want to do it twice on each side. Okay? Okay, we're not going to repeat, though. Next is the glutes and abductors. This is similar to the back stretch, but this time you're going to hold on to the back of the chair, and then you're just going to kind of bend at the waist and just kind of pull yourself forward. Keep the chin straight and just hold. You can feel different muscles than when you bent all the way over. I hope. Yes? And then stretch back up. Lean forward. Good, 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 good. Everybody's doing great. These are so easy, right? So easy to do. All right, the next we're going to do a little bit of our glutes, which is your rear end, and also your the inner and outer thighs, which is your abductors. So you're just going to cross one leg over, take the arm or the elbow over, and just twist and twist. This one feels really good. And then switch sides. All right, we're going to skip the stand-up ones. We'll come back and do them all at once since we're all sitting. Shoulder and upper back, just stretch, just reach. Reach with your arms, reach. Now there's also different ones you can do with this one. You can reach up, you can reach out, you can reach down or forward. Or actually going through the sequence is what we call dynamic exercise. Okay, so instead of holding it, you can kind of go through. You can also do something like arm shoulders, shoulder circles. Forward and backwards are working different muscles. Okay? You feel that tension in your shoulders just going away, right? If you've been stuck in these lectures all morning. I didn't say stuck. I didn't mean that. Neck, very easy with the neck. Now, the neck you always want to be careful with because you don't want to over pull the neck. So, just put your hand on and just gently, slowly turn to the side. Don't yank it, don't jerk it, don't pull it. You just want a slight pull of the neck. And then the same thing with the other side. Now, the tricep one, I'm not going to have you guys do, only because of the wheelie chairs. Most offices are wheelie chairs. I will show you what it is like, but it's kind of a hard one to do in this kind of setting. It's where you're basically just putting your hands out and then you're just kind of, leaning yourself down. You can really feel it in the triceps right here. All right. And then we've got oblique. This is the sides of so you've got your abdominal muscles in the front. Your obliques are those twisty ones on the side. So if you reach your hands up and just lean to the left, you can feel that pull on the opposite side. And then if you switch and lean to the right, again, you're going to feel that pull. Now, does anybody know what they call the center muscles in your body? Your back, your abdominals? It's the core. Yes, it's your core. So having a strong core or a stable core is going to help you with a lot of things. It's going to help you with balance, your strength, center of gravity. You hear all those terms like that. So having a strong core and making sure that that's flexible is going to help you in the long run too. All right, so another one for the tricep. So instead of the tricep dip, this is an easy tricep one you can do, where you just put your elbow straight up in the air, grab it, pull it right behind. Now, has anybody done these exercises before? Yes? Some of them? This is a good one. You feel this. Not only do you feel it in the back of your arm, your tricep, but you're also feeling it in your neck and shoulders. Everything that you're going to do with your upper body, you're going to feel those neck and shoulders. It's going to help you release that tension. Shoulder shrugs, we talked about that before. Just up and down, up and down. You don't even have to hold that one for 5 seconds. You can if you want, but this is more of a movement one. And then your back and your shoulders, just straight up with the hands. Just get a full open body stretch. And that doesn't have to be done sitting. That can be done standing. You get up from your chair, you just want to stretch, right? Easy to do. Anytime you twist, we're going to work your obliques, right? Anytime you twist, you're going to work your obliques. So you can do these any kind of sitting or standing. Now, some of the standing ones would be the back and the lateral one. Again, stable chair. If you want to do it, you can. If you have room, you might have to move your chairs out a little bit. Didn't realize how tight it would be, but very easy. So you're just going to go here, bend the knees slightly. You always want to slightly bend your knees. You never want to lock out joints. And then you're just going to lean down. Kind of just lean down, push the chair away from you a little bit. It's a good back stretch. Oh, and you feel that upper back, upper shoulder. Fabulous. Oh, stretch it out. The next one is for your calves. Now you can do this with a chair, you can do this with a wall, you can do this with a table. You're going to put one leg back. You're going to lean into your hips, okay? Bend the front leg and just keep that back leg straight. So you're just going to lean those hips forward as far as you can until you start feeling it in the back of your calf, which is the upper part of that lower leg. And then switch legs. Again, always want to be balanced, so you always want to do one side. No one told me that when I was in high school. When I was in high school, I was like, oh, I love to do these leg extensions, right? But I don't like to do leg curls, so I would never do the curls. I'd do the extensions. Guess what? I pulled my hamstring because I was imbalanced. I had way too much muscle here, not enough here, and this went, yanked this out, that pulled. So balance in everything you do. All right, and then the chest expansion, I think we did one of these before. We did one of these before. All right. Okay, everybody can sit down. The next ones we're gonna do, I don't think anybody's here with the highway, right? No one's here with the highway? All right. Again, we weren't sure who we were talking to today, but the next set of exercises are gonna be for drivers. But everyone's been on a road trip before, right? Everyone's been on a road trip? Okay. Simple exercises. I used to be one of those, and maybe you are too. We go on these, 10, 15-hour road trips, right? Driving for 6, 7 hours. I don't need a break. I can hold it. We're good. When I was 20, 30, great, right? No problems. I could do this. Well, a little bit over 50 now. Can't do it anymore. Can't do it. My hips hurt for days after a long road trip. Shoulders, necks, the focus, I feel like I'm tense because there's way more cars on the road, right? You got all this tension going on. So I definitely recommend stopping if you can. Yes? Sorry, can I take a picture of the chair? Absolutely, yeah, absolutely. You want me to go back to the last slide? Yep, no problem. Help yourself. But there are so many things that you can do while you're sitting in the car, whether you're at a stoplight. Again, we talked about those shoulder rolls, so simple, right? Shoulder up, shoulders down, simple ones. This is a good one, just kind of jutting your neck forward, pulling your neck back, jutting it forward, opening your mouth, and then relaxing. You feel all that tension in your muscles? And people might think you're crazy in the car next to you, but that's okay. You are stretching, you're doing good. One where you're sitting, where you're pushing your shoulder blades up against the seat or arching your back and then putting it back. A lot of people don't support their back enough, so whether you need a backrest or whether you need one of those seats, whether your knees are not touching the back of the seat, all of those are going to lead you to having pain when you do that. The calf stretch, while you're sitting there, don't take your foot off the gas or brake if you have to. But the other foot, you can just kind of raise it up and raise it down. Very simple stretch. And again, this is something you can do at your desk. Very simple, very easy. And then we had done a few of the shoulder stretches before. You can do that up against, you can't really do that unless you take a break and stop at a rest stop, some of those. But shoulders, necks, just turning to the right, turning to the left. Usually your wrists will tense up, and a lot of times even working at a computer, holding onto a steering wheel, you get a lot of tension in the wrists, so just kind of help, not just doing this, but just kind of helping it a little bit, kind of pushing it a little bit farther than you should, pulling it back. These are all things that are going to help release some tension in those shoulders or the wrists. Right. Good exercises. You like these? Okay. All right. Nobody's a truck driver, right? Is everybody a truck driver? Okay, I think we're going to have to skip this slide. But these are basically exercises, and if you have an SUV, you can do laps around it, but you're not going to get much distance. If you had an 18-wheeler, you're going to get more distance. But, these are things that you could do if you're at a rest stop or if you're stopping and taking a break. A lot of people, if your job is 8 hours on the road, or let's just say you're taking a road trip for 8 hours, and you're like, I'm not going to be able to get any kind of workout in today. Well, this guy just grabbed a water jug and he's doing some bicep curls. He's doing some shoulder presses. He's up against his vehicle doing some presses. There's a lot of things you can do. I just went on it was an 8.5 hours, which turned into, 12-hour day driving out to Wisconsin a few weeks ago with my daughter and her new baby. I was nannying the baby while she could go to a wedding. And she's like, Mom, we have to stop every 2 hours. I'm like, oh, okay, all right, whatever. So every 2 hours we stopped so she could feed the baby. And I'm like, all right, see you guys in 20 minutes, see you in 30 minutes. And I left and just did laps around the parking lots, around the buildings. I found a really cool stream behind one of them in Indiana. It was a really nice stream. But I made sure that I moved the entire time. And when we got to our destination, and went to sleep. The next morning I got up and I said, I am not stiff. I am not sore. I said, maybe there is something to this stopping every 2 hours, because my husband and I would never have done that ever in our younger days. So it makes a world of difference if you just get up and move. So not an inch of stiff or soreness. I was so excited. I was so excited. All right, hydration. How are we doing on time? What do I have till? 1:20? Okay, hydration. I think you've all heard it before. We've done a number of water challenges here before, right? Hydration, hydration, hydration. It can lead to all different kinds of things, muscle tightness, headaches. Last week I had a headache for like 2 days. I thought it had to do with the flu shot that I had. Maybe it wasn't feeling good. And my coworker's like, are you drinking enough? I said, yeah, I drink all the time. And she's like, maybe you should try, some of this liquid IV. I was like, I don't have a hangover, because I thought that's what you used it for. So I took some of that. Within an hour, my headache went away. I said, darn, I did not realize that I was dehydrated, because it's like electrolytes. It's probably some sugar, and some electrolytes, but it was enough to rehydrate my body. And I was just shocked. And like I said, I know all about nutrition and hydration, and I drink all the time. But the day before, I was not only getting a flu shot, but I was actually running the clinic, which meant I did not eat the normal breakfast or lunch that I normally do. I did not take any breaks because I was the only one running the clinic. And I didn't do my exercise in the middle of the day, which meant I didn't drink like I normally drink. So just something like that to throw your day off can just wreak havoc on your body. Same thing today. I knew I was coming here, and I was like, oh, they're probably going to have pastries, muffins, donuts, right? So at the last minute, I grabbed my little pack of, mixed nuts and some raisins, as well as a banana, and that was my breakfast. Because if not, I would have been eating an apple turnover and a muffin. Not good. Okay. All right. Tips to stay hydrated if you don't know already. I mean, hopefully you all have a reusable water bottle. I see a lot of them around. Hopefully at your office you either have water fountains or bottle fillers. You can set reminders on your phone to drink when you can. There are apps out there that you can track your water, your water consumption. I just try to drink all the way down and then refill, and I know I have a 32-ounce bottle. The recommendations, were that 6 to 8 ounces, or 6 to 8 glasses of water a day. So that's almost 64 ounces of water. Join a challenge. We've had water challenges before at work, but you can get into a challenge with your family members or your friends. And not just in the summer. People think, oh, I just need to stay hydrated in the summer. Most people get dehydrated in the winter. And you'll notice that because your skin will be dry. Right? Everybody sees that dry skin. It's not because of the cold. It's because you're getting dehydrated, because you're not consuming the water, because you're not hot, right? You're cold. You're bundled up. You're not really drinking throughout the day like you would be if during the summer months. Okay. If you don't like the flavor of water, because a lot of people don't, you can put any kinds of fresh fruit, herbs. Cucumber is great, mint, pineapple, watermelon, infuse it, in the water. If you can either have an infuser bottle, or you can just shove it right into a big pitcher and then strain it out. And what's great about like the pineapples and the melons and things like that and the cucumbers is they're all anti-inflammatory as well. So not only are you getting hydrated, but you're putting these chemicals, good, chemicals in your body that are going to help with inflammation in your overall body. Pineapple is like one of the best things you can do for inflammation. And hydration is watermelon. And if you don't drink all of that, eat foods, soups and stews. What'd you say? Smoothies, yeah, make a smoothie. Anything that's liquid, is going to give you the hydration. Not for a challenge that I would do, but if you're going to look at hydration in general, those are things that helps. Okay. All right, eat well. All right, who has trouble eating healthy at work? Everybody? What are some things that derail you? Chips. Do you bring chips, or are they out of the vending machine? You bring them. Oh, no, that's even worse. All right.
To get me to drink water.
Yeah, okay. You have a point. So plan your lunch. Plan your lunches. I started doing this when my kids were little because how stressful is it to try to get kids out the door, get yourself out the door if you have no clue what you're making for lunch that day. So we used to have a little system where everybody's lunchbox came out. I had this, it wasn't color coded. I'm a little, a little anal, but in the basement we had different bins with the different snacks, and the kids would go downstairs and they were allowed to pick one from each of the bins to put in their box, and then if anything was needed to be refrigerated, that was always on the top shelf. They were able to pull that morning, but everything was assembled, ready to go. I am now, an empty nester. It is just me and my husband. He doesn't even work anymore because he's retired, so it's just me. So I go to that fridge every night, about 9:30 or 10 o'clock, and I'm like, okay, what am I having for breakfast and lunch tomorrow? Because most people eat more than one meal at work. If not just lunch, it could be breakfast and lunch. So you want to just try to think about how you're going to plan for your days. If you're going to bring something that you want to microwave, you want to think about the container that you're going to put it in. Do you have a bento box? Do you guys know what bento boxes are? Yeah, there's those boxes that have the different compartments in it so that you do little portions in it. They look like little kiddie boxes, but they're great for adults too, because who wants to just take handfuls of stuff and put it in? Instead of an entire bag of chips, you're only going to put what fits in that little box, so you maybe only have 3 chips versus 200 calories worth of chips. But the containers are very important too. Stock up over the weekend if you can, or a weeknight, whatever day you do your shopping, ready to go, grab and go, fresh fruits and vegetables, if you can't prep things, you don't have the space to do that, you can always do pre-prepped, things like cut celery sticks or apples. They even have apples that are pre-cut in little baggies now too. I mean, it's crazy. What happened to the old apple slicer? And then it browned like immediately, so you had to eat it really quickly. So many different inventions now. Batch cook if you can. I like to prep, say lunches for the week. And so you'll batch cook something, whether it be a soup or a stew, a chili, or it's just maybe some chicken breasts, or I take a couple chicken breasts, slice them up, and then I can use that for like chicken and vegetables on Monday, and maybe I have a salad with chicken strips on it the next day. Maybe I have tacos where I shred the chicken and put it in the tacos the next day. You can do different things if you're thinking and planning ahead, but it really helps in the long run. Use leftovers, maybe double up your meal for the day and then just have a very healthy meal the next day with your leftovers. Leftovers are great. Not 5 days in a row, they're not great, but they're good the next day or two, possibly. Maybe even not the next day, maybe you wait a day, they're still good the next day. All right. Do what works for you. Like I said, everybody's meal planning is different, so it doesn't matter the day of the week, or but just try to put a plan together. It will save you time, it'll save you money, it'll save you frustration, stress, and it'll make you eat healthier. Also, find a place for lunch ideas. I used to, back in the day, have a big notebook. Anytime you found a good recipe or whatever, right, you'd rip it out of the magazine. For those who are dating myself, rip it out of the magazine, hole punch it, and put it in the thing. Now I use the Pinterest app. Whenever I come across a good recipe or a healthy recipe, I will save it into the Pinterest. I have breakfast, lunch, dinner, snacks, desserts, holiday. I have so many different ones. I have so many different recipes. This time of year is great. The fall. Does anybody like pumpkin? All right, so I've got pumpkin energy balls. I've got 2 containers of freezer balls in my freezer. So what do? I grab 3 or 4 balls with a banana. There's my breakfast out the door. Very easy. I've got pumpkin muffins, protein muffins. Putting some collagen powder in there, putting some protein powder when you make it. Now you got a protein muffin. I like desserts for breakfast. Muffins, cookies, but they're all healthy. Oats, just anything that's quick and easy to make, but it's grab and go. To me, it's grab and go. I'm not wasting half an hour at home eating breakfast. I'm grabbing it and going, and then I'm eating it later. All right. Who has snacks at work? You have snacks? What kind of snacks do you have?
Like peanut butter and crackers.
Okay, good. Apple?
Pretzels.
Okay, all right.
Crisps.
Oh, there you go. Oh, good. That's a great one. Yeah. So I have probably 3 bins in my overhead full of snacks, full of food, because there is food everywhere. Everyone's having a party. Everyone's bringing leftovers back. Everyone's having a celebration. I cannot handle it. I just don't have the willpower to not eat it. So, I mean, and I do this for a living, and I still, I see something, oh my God, that's so good. Just one bite. But I feel guilty. I used to feel really guilty by just taking one bite. Now I don't feel so guilty. Now I'll be like, I'm just going to take a bite of that cookie. And then I'm just going to be like, I don't need that anymore. But I have one section that's just like my fruits, and I call them my fruits and nuts. So it's, the dried fruits. I've got some figs and some prunes and some raisins, and then I've got some apples or whatever, banana, oranges, whatever that I'll bring in that day. Sometimes that needs to be refrigerated, sometimes it doesn't. Then I've got containers of mixed nuts. I've got regular peanuts, I've got pistachios, I've got walnuts, I mean, just anything you want. And then Sam's Club or Costco or whatever has those packets. There's basically a little trail mix, but not all trail mix is the same. So you have to, later on I'll show you an app that I use to scan to get a really healthy snack. But I have little packets of nuts, or not all granola bars are made the same. Again, I'll show you an app to say what is the better, healthier one. But always keep something healthy stocked for you all the time. The next one is lunches. Like if something happened, I was out really late that night, or it's Sunday night, or I was gone all weekend and I'm just getting home. I did not have time to prep for the week. I have chilies and soups and things like that ready to go in my office, so that if I run out the door, I'm not stuck spending $15 for a sandwich or a slice of pizza at the local, place. I can pull that out and go. Those are kind of like your emergency, things. But it really will save you time, calories, and eating healthy. But all of the things that you guys mentioned are all good, healthy snacks. Hummus, I buy those boxes of those little sample hummus things at Sam's Club, and we throw them right in the freezer. They're good for like a year. So yeah, you just pull them out. We use them all summer long when we go to the beach, because it's a great snack for the beach. In the morning, I'll pack my snack bag with that, grab some carrots and apples, celery or whatever, maybe some slices of cheese, and that will be my little charcuterie on the beach,
Celery and peanut butter.
Yes, celery and peanut butter with ants on the log, with little raisins right across the top.
Okay.
Ants on the log, right? That's what we had when we were growing up anyway. That's what I had. All right. This is a controversial one. Doesn't everybody celebrate birthdays, anniversaries, holidays, right? Everything. I swear, every other week. HR knows. They used to party like there's no tomorrow in there, okay? Some people have willpower, some people don't. Some people, it's very difficult because it's a social thing, right? You want to partake, you want to participate. So how do you say no? You don't know how many birthday parties I've been to that I just look and smile, because maybe the birthday party's at 10 in the morning and I just had a really healthy breakfast at 9. I am not ruining my day by eating that, in the morning. But you feel bad, you feel guilty, you want to participate, with everybody. So, how do you do different things? Maybe you decorate, say, you know what, we're not going to do parties for everybody's birthday. We had an office that had 3 birthdays in April. That was a party a week, plus Easter, okay? That was just, forget it, 5 pounds, 10 pounds that month alone, right? Because you can't say no. So, decorate the office. Maybe say, you know what, let's everybody order lunch. You can order what you want and bring it. Or, you know what do you like to eat? Maybe you like cupcakes, you like double chocolate fudge cupcake. I'm gonna get you one double fudge chocolate cupcake with a little, happy birthday and a little candle in it. And the rest of us, we don't have to eat. It's okay. Happy birthday. Have at it. Good for you, right? Fruit platters. How about let's do a tea and coffee thing, or maybe switch it up and have a healthy breakfast. There's a lot of different things you can do. Maybe play a game if you like your coworkers, you play a game with them. Go for a walk. Let's go picnic. We're all going out to lunch. Who wants to go with us? But you don't have to force everybody in to do with it. I've been dealing with this since I started working. We all have, right? My family doesn't do that much for me. There's food all day long. I'm like, no, I just want an ice cream cake. I just want one piece. That's all. I'm good. All right. Eating mindfully. So who's heard this term before? This is a buzzword, right? Eating mindfully, thinking about what you're doing, taking time to eat. It takes your brain about 20 minutes to register that you're full, kind of that, what you just ate. So if you are flying through, on the go, eating very, very quickly, just so that you can do something else, you're going to be hungry in a half an hour or an hour because your mind hasn't caught up. Actually, probably 10 minutes later, you're going to be like, I'm still hungry. I'm not full because your brain has not registered that your stomach is full. So what's that going to lead to? More calorie consumption, overeating, eating bad things because you're going to get cravings that you didn't normally have. Try to minimize your distractions. Try not to eat and work at the same time. I know a lot of people do just, I don't have time. I have to work through my lunch. It's probably one of the worst things that you can do. You really need to take that mental break as well as that, mindful eating break. You're going to be much healthier for it in the long run. I talked about the eating 20 foods. Plan your meal times. Some people are very regimented with their meal times, and if you get an hour past your meal time, your sugar starts to drop because your body is regulated. Your body knows this is the time I normally eat. So if you know that something is going to get in the way of that, then get yourself one of those healthy snacks that you have and eat that before, if you know that you're going to be delayed an hour or so. Do something, eat something that's going to maybe stick around a little while. And then think about how you're eating. When we talk about mindful eating, the textures, the smells, the aromas, there are very few pleasures in life, right? Eating is one of them. Eating good food is one of those pleasures. So what are some foods to keep you full? Protein-rich foods. Eggs, yogurt, nuts, cottage cheese, lentils, fish, kidney beans, quinoa. Most of these can be incorporated in some type of meal. There's also fiber-rich foods. Fiber fills up the gut as well. So we talked about those fruits, the apples, bananas, any kind of vegetable, celery, carrots, those cruciferouses are great for cancer, prevention. Anything that's whole grains, those have complex carbohydrates in them, so you're going to get lasting energy instead of a quick fix energy. And then any kind of seeds, nuts. Anybody who's been to any of the Horizon webinars, she always talks about nuts, seeds, grains. So those are all there. And then healthy fats, avocados, olive oil, nuts and seeds, of course, dark chocolate, snacks, potatoes, popcorn, water, soups, a lot of them. It slows your digestion down, helps to satisfy you, gives you that sustained energy. Now, of course, everybody have to do this disclaimer. Everyone has their own diet. You could be a diabetic. You could be, having hormone or thyroid issues. Everybody's eating plan is different. One works for one, doesn't work for others. So we give examples, but it might not work for you. You have to just try different things to see what works for you. All right, and then the last piece, I have a minute to go. Okay, I'm gonna give you all copies of these slides, but these are resources. People ask me all the time, where do you get good information? Because everybody on TikTok, on Instagram, Facebook, there's so many different things. People have wrong information. They don't have good studies, things that have been, tested and vetted. So I've just made lists for you. The next couple slides are just lists of the different resources on the internet, as well as general health information, and then fitness and nutrition. And then mental wellness. A lot of these apps you can get for free, but then if you want the resources, sometimes you have to pay for a subscription. But every app, I think, is like that these days. And then the ones that I did want to point out, I talked to you about nutrition app that I use. It's called Yuka, Y-U-K-A. It's got a little carrot on it. The girls in HR know I promote this all the time. I first started using it to scan the barcodes on my cosmetics because I wanted to get I want it to be clean, have clean products, but you can also use it for food as well. Gives your food a score from 0 to 100, from poor, bad, good, excellent, and it's on packaged foods. So if you're looking at something that's packaged or processed, this will help you figure out which one is the best one that you can get. So I've gone from scanning my entire pantry to realizing, oh boy, I need to replace some things. So I started finding foods that were good, and now I search for foods that are excellent. But it's a great tool, it gives you all the chemicals, because I mean, even with a nutrition background, I can't read everything that's in some of those packages. It's very tough to decipher what's in and what's hidden and what's not hidden, because not everything makes the label either. So this is a great one. It was formed by a group of people in France and Europe, and they started going through Europe, and then they've now moved to the United States, because a lot of things are banned in Europe that are not banned here. So it's very educational, eye-opening, but I recommend that to everybody. But I've used a lot of these. There's fitness and exercise one. Anyone who's hikers, the All Trail app is amazing to find local hiking trails. Strava's good, Habit Tracker, and that's it. Any questions? Anybody have any questions? I hope you learned something today, got something out of it, whether it be some stretching, new stretches, some resources. But, my door is always open. My email is always open. Please reach out if you can. So thank you for coming today. I appreciate it. Thanks.